Hey everyone, I'm Crystal Jigrup, and this is Empowered by Women. In August of 2021, I launched Book of Bijou, which is a line of chic and innovative jewelry storage. And in January of 2022, we expanded into what you now see as the Empowered by Women platform. I really wanted to create a centralized space where we can really put emphasis on our mission of women empowerment and community over competition. It really truly does fill my cup to be surrounded by so many of you inspiring women, and the energy that you bring to me and our platform on a daily basis is unmatched. You really all do fuel me with so much motivation to continue doing what I'm doing, and for that, I thank you. Before we jump into the episode, please be sure to follow or subscribe to us wherever you are listening, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcast platform. And also don't forget to share your favorite episodes with your fellow female founders so that we can continue growing our platform and furthering our mission. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this next interview with another incredible woman in entrepreneurship that I know you guys are going to absolutely love. Today, we have the beautiful Jenna Hermans. She is living proof that you can create a life of calm within chaos and overwhelm. And oh my gosh, that's already music to my ears. So I'm excited to dive into this. Jenna is the co-founder and COO of Be Courageous, a transformation agency. She is a busy mom of four, a coach, an award-winning author. You can see her in Forbes, Elle, Business Insider, and more. She helps people, especially parents, and businesses as well, implement tools that put organization and systems around their busy lives that can infuse that calm and more joy, helping them go from chaos to calm, which doubles as the title of her Benjamin Franklin award-winning book that launched in May of 2023. Everything about your bio is like, yes, I need it. I'm excited for this conversation. So Jenna, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Crystal.
Absolutely. So I am excited to dive in. I just read your bio, but give us all of the juicy little nitty-gritty details within that.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, I'm the COO and co-founder of Be Courageous. And what we do is we work with organizations, large and small, to infuse courage into the organization. So that looks like culture transformation, leadership transformation through coaching, workshops, work sprints, speaking engagements. And my particular flavor within that is reducing stress and reducing overwhelm. And so it's bringing more calm, more balance through those systems, like we talked about in the bio, right? Systems and structures, routines, the infrastructure of how things work, right? To create a space that enables for more balance, that enables for more calm, and can bring more of that to the everyday life, whether that's at home or otherwise.
So how did that get started though? Like, did this start as you in your role as a parent, or you in your role within like the corporate system and seeing how chaotic that can all be?
Oh, it started with me as a parent. Granted, I'd been in the corporate world a long time before becoming a parent and very much knew the stress and overwhelm and burnout of that environment. But becoming a parent, is different and this is in the day that there was no remote working, where when you left work, you were done for the day. Like there was no, let's bring work home with you necessarily, at least in the roles that I was at during that time. So there was a space to like, okay, I'm not there now. I get to now be home and have my time. But as all parents know, that is not the case with parenting, right? There's no like, okay, I'm done for the day. I'm going to go do something else now. And it was really after my husband and I moved from Los Angeles, which is where I had my home base. I grew up there, family, friends, the whole, community village was there. We moved from there to the San Francisco Bay Area. And in that starting over, right, needing to build community from scratch. And while we were building that community, we also started our business, Be Courageous. We made a fourth child, and that was when kind of everything, for lack of better words, fell apart. Right, having a newborn, 3 kids in elementary school, a fledgling business, and my husband traveling nonstop trying to, create business for our company, with no support system. And I found myself deep deep in chaos, deep in overwhelm, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, you name it. It was my everyday, right? Every day was panic and anxiety over how am I doing this, and feeling like completely out of touch with who I was and my what my role for my life was beyond just mother, partner, wife, right? Doing those key things under this roof. And so that's really where, it stemmed from. This is not okay. I don't want to do life like this anymore. And making that intentional, mindful mindset shift to, I want to do it differently. I want to not just be barely surviving, but I want to be able to enjoy my life and thrive in it, find who I am at my core in this new phase of life, of who I am now, in this new evolved space that I'm in. Because there's no going back, right? Parents, we know there is no going back to what was. And whether that's in as a parent or otherwise in life, right? There's no getting back to. It's more like, who am I now and who am I evolving into? And so I took the time and the space to figure that out and reconnect with the self and ensure that I was taking care of me and taking care of my home, and implementing those strategies and that infrastructure to help create the space for more calm in the day-to-day.
So you're talking about taking care of yourself, and that's so much more easier said than done, right? Especially as moms, it's so easy for us to just put everything else ahead of us. Taking care of the kids, of course, making sure they have food to eat, then taking care of the house so they have a safe place to play and do all the things. And then now you also have, or at that time, you had this growing business that obviously needs your time and energy for it to be able to get anywhere. So what did that actually realistically look like when it came to taking care of yourself? How were you able to carve out the time to do that? And did you go through, all of the guilt that is typically associated with that?
Oh, yes. Guilt and imposter syndrome and everything in all the ways, all the negative thoughts that come with making shifts and changes that are for the self, right? That are for me as a mom, and saying no to things that I knew that my kids wouldn't like me saying no to, and feeling guilty about that for sure. Or knowing that, like, I'm not going to work on that project or that thing that I need, that I would like to for my job, right? For our business, saying I need to sleep, right? I need to be able to sleep. So having a lot of guilt and working through that. But one of the first things that I did before getting to the let me start really getting clear on my yeses and my nos and my boundaries, right, was actually working on the efficiencies at home. And that was, let me get some of the systems, right, set up so that they would run more smoothly. So the first thing I did was efficiency around food, right? We have to feed our children every single day, multiple times a day. And every dinner time, it was a stress, right? Come 4:30 every single day, such a stress of, what am I going to make for dinner? What are we going to eat for dinner? And feeling like I have to be creative all over again, and go find, what do we have, and scrounge something together. But that was a daily occurrence. Like, it was a shock at 4 o'clock every day. Oh my God, again? Like, right. And so the literal first thing I did that started this kind of ripple effect was building a meal plan. And it sounds so simple, and it is, but it's not easy. And I think that's kind of one of the main messages that I have through how to make that transformation, right? From where you are as stressed and overwhelmed to a place of more calm and balance, is that a lot of the things are quite simple. They're simple concepts, but they're not easy necessarily to implement, right? But once you do, it's like, this is not a difficult task. It's just that it takes effort and energy and intention up front. And once you have that, you've invested in that space, then it makes it easier in the long run. So it's an investment in your future self, right? To do some of this work up front. And so again, bringing it back to the meal plan, right? Instead of every day at 4 o'clock, oh my God, what am I going to make for dinner again? It's Sunday. Let's sit down and talk about what are the meals that we want to have this week, make a grocery list against that, see what I already have, plus adding new things to the list, get those groceries, and then have them on hand. So come 4 o'clock every day, I'm like, oh, just tonight we decided we're going to have rice bowls, rice and beans and cucumbers and, whatever. I have all of it, and I don't have to sit there being creative now. I can just execute on preparing the meal.
Isn't that so interesting that so many of us, we would rather just keep going on this like hamster wheel of that constant stress and constant trying to figure it out than take a little bit of extra time and a little bit of extra effort to put those systems in place. I'm talking about me, okay? So everyone in the audience, I'm not shaming you. I'm shaming me, okay? I'm right there with you. But I'm doing all of that right now with like my business, and I see it, and it does take so much time of like, okay, I'm having to like write down the SOPs and like, but at the end of the day, you get to delegate that out, right? Or it takes off so much of your plate in the long run, and the effort that you're putting in now is so worth it. The whole meal plan thing, I've been thinking about that so much these past couple of days, and I'm like, okay, we got to do that because the kitchen is not where I like to be. That's probably like my least favorite place to be. So anything to simplify that for me, that's what I want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just like you said, in business as well, it's the same, like I am not by any means a social media anything. I am the worst when it comes to social media. But when it came to my book launch, I knew, what, I should probably engage, I should have some sort of plan. And it was really helpful because I had been going kind of like day by day, maybe a little week ahead of time, schedule some stuff into the social feeds. But a few months leading up to my book launch, I thought, it'd be a really good idea to kind of just lay that all out, right? Do that meal planning, but the social media planning. And I had, a few weeks to maybe even a month of content that I knew I wanted to have scheduled out. And it felt like such a relief. Yes, it took so much time up front to get that all scheduled and figure that out. And what is it going to be? And pick the images and the captions and all of that. But after that chunk of time and that investment, I didn't have to touch it again for multiple weeks. And that was such a great use of intentionality, being proactive, being efficient to put forth that initial effort for long-term gain.
So what does that look like for you now? Do you have like a day out of every month where it's dedicated to just that?
I don't even touch social media, so no.
Okay, you've been able to hand it off.
I mean, I'm not. I decided to take a hiatus, so I haven't touched it in a long time.
Oh, so like your business is not even just on there.
No.
That's
I
amazing.
exist, but I don't.
I love that. Well, I want to go down this path then, because that's amazing. There are so many businesses that feel like we have to be on social media or we're not going to be successful. And for our platform, for our business, I do think it's a critical platform. And I think there are businesses where, yes, you need it, but not every business does. So since you're not on there at all, what does it look like in terms of you getting your leads and building all these connections and becoming successful? How have you been able to build a successful brand without having that social media branch there supporting you?
Hey, beautiful humans, really quick, did you know that hiring a virtual assistant saves people 14.7 hours per week on average? As our platform and my family continues to grow, I knew there was no way that I could keep doing it all alone. And I mean, who wants to anyway, right? So I finally made the leap to hire a VA, and it has been game-changing. iWorker actually came recommended to me by a friend who also has a VA that she loves from there. And there's so much more to the agency that actually really drew me to them and made me feel comfortable taking that leap and making the commitment to bringing on a VA, which is a huge decision. Not only does iWorker ensure that their VAs are top tier, they're committed to hiring people from countries in crisis where the work that you're providing really does matter. iWorker was actually co-founded by a Venezuelan immigrant in response to the Venezuelan refugee crisis, which is why their mission is so profoundly rooted the way that it is. And most of their team, which is 65% women, which we love, they're able to support multiple family members thanks to the income that they're receiving from iWorker. My VA has been an absolute game changer, and she has a little one of her own, which makes me appreciate her work ethic even more and makes me feel really good that I did make the decision to go with iWorker. So if you are ready to start taking that busy work off of your plates so that you can focus on the work that really does matter in your business and in growing your business, head to iWorker. They'll take care of all the things: social media, video editing, graphic design, copywriting, you name it. Head to iWorker. It is going to be an affiliate link that's in the notes, but just know I do not take that lightly, okay? I only share things with you that I really do know and that I actually use and 100% will continue to support. So again, that link is in the show notes, but let's go ahead and get back to the episode.
Sure. So there's I guess two different approach. There's a couple of approaches, right? So one is my energy is best felt, right? In person. So getting to be in front of human beings, getting to have conversations like this and chatting and talking, connecting, and through, I guess, the network effect, right, of being in person live or via Zoom or podcast, whatever it is, that the word of mouth spreads, right? We engage, there's something of value here. You see the value in what I provide. I see the value in what you provide. How can we support each other? And how can we amplify each other's messages and get leads and all of that? And so that's one way, right, of just being out there physically more or intentionally without the screen behind us. I mean, we're on a screen right now, but we're live with each other, right? Having more of these live conversations, which does take a lot of additional time and energy. But I find that the ROI on that for me is so much higher than the social media ROI. For me personally.
Yeah.
And also it's a lot of giving, right? And I enjoy giving. So in my space of what brings me joy, right? Giving is a part of that. And so by being of service and giving, then in my natural element, coming from a place of authenticity and integrity, when I give, it shows that this is, my true integrity shows through, and I get people coming in being like, wait, so tell me more about that. And then they bring me, next thing I know, I'm talking to their corporate group, their ERG, or in front of a group of parents at a school, or I spoke at a school conference recently. And so it's saying yes to things that are high on my value list. And I know that work for me as well. And so engaging in these other ways.
That's beautiful. And I think there you spoke to how powerful it can be when you show up authentically, right? And allowing that to do all the selling for you, right? Because then people really know who you are and what you're about. And then that word of mouth can be really powerful when you know how to use it and when you know that that is an avenue that you can really leverage. So for the people that don't even know where to begin, our platform is all about visibility, right? It's about building visibility and building connection. So for the women that are out there saying, like, I want to do what Jenna does. I want to go and be visible and have these conversations with people and be able to build my relationships that way. What key tips do you have for them to get started if they don't know where to start?
Yeah, I'd say joining groups where like-minded people are, right? There's a group I belong to called Hey Mama. I belong to Female Founders Collective. And so by not just belonging in the group, but engaging in the group, being an active participant, right? You're only going to get out what you put in. And so by being an active participant in these groups, then you build those connections, right? Because everyone there is there for the same reason. They're all there to share what they have and to help everybody else. So finding groups and collections of humans that have that same desire, right, is incredibly helpful when trying to get yourself out there, have your message be known.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so let's go back to all of the things that you do with the work you do and Be Courageous and all of this using calm as a superpower, which I love. I think that's so important. There have been so many times, I mean, everyone knows entrepreneurship is a roller coaster, right? You need to be able to have that ability to step back and figure out how to reground yourself and get back to calm. Can you talk to us about like why, for one, is that considered a superpower? Like what have you seen in the industry? And then tell us if you have any personal stories of how you've been able to implement it as you've grown your business.
Yeah. So, I think one of the main things here is about regulating the nervous system, right? And having self-awareness of what a nervous system is. And so the nervous system, right, reacts to its environment. It's not always what happens in your mind. The thinking doesn't always necessarily affect, right? It's the body's interpretation of what it's experiencing. And to the point where if you think about like you touch a hot plate, before your mind can think, oh, that's a hot plate, I should take my hand away before it gets burned, right? Your body just does it. And so the nervous system reacts to the environment and things that it feels threatened by, right, in a way that is trying to protect you. And one of the things that shows up, right, is that we live in an environment right now, most of us at least, and those probably listening to, this podcast, where we don't have a lot of threats, like physical life or death threats on a daily basis. We're not worried about a lion licking its lips, looking outside our window, and being like, oh my God, you got to stay inside. The nervous system reacting, being like, and the feeling of, oh my gosh, my head is rushing, I feel hot, I'm getting sweaty, right? All these things that are, at least for me, how my body responds when it is under stress, right? When the nervous system is activated, I'm going to fight, flight, or freeze mode. But by getting clear and understanding, okay, when my body goes into that mode, right, and I recognize, oh, I'm getting sweaty, my head is feeling hot, my skin is feeling tingly, and I have a headache, and all of those other symptoms, physiological symptoms that I recognize, oh, my body is feeling stressed and threatened right now. What's going on here, right? And being able to take a moment and step back and think about it, right? And so that has happened in multiple environments where I find myself, in a meeting, in a workshop, or at home, or at the PTA meeting, whatever it is, right? Where I recognize that my body is activated, my nervous system's activated right now. Let me just take a moment to understand why. And when I understand the why, I can approach the situation with a lot more awareness, right? There's a lot more awareness than that of like, okay, I'm scared, nervous, threatened, whatever it is, by this scenario because I'm uncomfortable with, I think someone's going to call me out, or I'm afraid I'm going to get, fired by a client, whatever it is, random examples, right? That I'm not doing a good enough job. I'm not good enough, right? My body will go into that when I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not providing enough value. I'm not good enough for this. Why do they hire me in the first place? Oh my gosh, my imposter syndrome, right? Creeping in when they're all like, no, that was amazing. You gave us so much value. And I'm like, my body is so aware of the fact and afraid that I'm not, right? But that shows to me that I care also. My nervous system, even though there is no lion outside licking its lips, literally threatening my life, I, in this current, our current day normal society and culture, am afraid of, or can be, right? In those moments, I'm afraid, and my body shows me in that way. And so having that self-awareness is really helpful to understand what's going on for the self, or taking that moment to pause and think, why is my body reacting this way? Why is my nervous system activated right now?
I love that because it really normalizes that reaction, right? The instinctive human bodily reaction to certain things and to certain stressful environments. And I think for people that are newer to the entrepreneurial world, they see someone that's very successful and very well put together, and they're like, oh, they don't even deal with that anymore, right? They don't get anxiety, they don't get nervous. They're just exuding confidence, like it's just oozing out of their pores, right? But we all still deal with that no matter how far into the game we are. We've just developed more proper coping mechanisms, right? So that we're aware of it and we can respond appropriately. Mm-hmm. When I got started with my business, I knew that I was going to have to go on this whole like mindset journey. And one of the things that I said to myself was, okay, I really need to lean into my self-awareness, because that is what is going to help me through those situations that do get tough, so that I know, am I responding emotionally or am I responding logically? So do you have any certain like systems or rituals when you are feeling like very stressed, anything that really helps you to reground and to get to that feeling of calm?
Oh, yes, so many. I have a laundry list of them. I even have a downloadable on my website that's called 2 Minutes to Calm, that lists out all these different strategies that help calm the nervous system, right? Because when the nervous system is activated, we can't think as clearly, we can't be as creative in our problem solving. We're not able to approach whatever's in front of us with everything we've got, right? Mentally, everything that we know that we have inside, because the body is in the place of feeling threatened and the blood is rushing to other places in the body and not the mind. It's saying, get me out of here. So by doing these things, the body is able to start calming before the mind can even catch up. And again, it's that thing of like touching the hot pan. The body knows before the mind does. So by getting the body to calm down intellectually and logically, the mind will catch up, right? So one of those things that I like to do, an actual, piece of something, an example is I do what's called box breathing. And box breathing can be done at any time. It takes less than 2 minutes, it takes less than a minute, honestly, to do 3 rounds. And it's breathing in for 4 seconds, holding the breath for 4 seconds, releasing for 4 seconds, and holding for 4 seconds again. So that's 16 seconds. Doing that 3 times is still less than a minute. And so I'd like to do that at least 3 times, and it completely calms down my nervous system, or at least gets it back on track, right? It starts calming it down so that it can get back to baseline and be regulated again. I also like to do check-ins with myself. When I remember to throughout the day, I like to start my day with a check-in where I do a quick little, like, where's my mind at? Where's my thinking, right? Checking in with myself without judgment, right? Like, am I feeling a little cloudy in my brain? Is it activated? Is it thinking about what's going to be happening in 3 weeks from now? Is it worried about what's going to happen an hour from now? Is it excited, right? Just what are the thoughts that are showing up? And another is about, how's the body doing? Again, without judgment. I'm like, oh, there's pain in my lower back, which means this and that. No, it's like, oh, I noticed there's a niggle back there. Oh, like, I'm a little sore because I did an exercise yesterday and made my muscles sore. Or, oh, I feel a bruise because I banged into the table yesterday. Or like, oh, everything's feeling really loose. This is great, right? So it's a quick body check-in from head to toe of how's the body doing without judgment, just checking in and nurturing the pieces that need nurturing, recognizing, oh, I'm sore there. All right, maybe I'll just put on some arnica and rub it, or whatever it is or I need to get my back checked out, or, oh, I'm really tense. Maybe if I can, like, I'll try to get a massage this weekend, or ask my partner, hey, can you rub my shoulders because my back is really sore. And again, with the thinking, like, if the thinking is cloudy or whatnot, how can I support that today? What can I do even right now or later today to help support that thinking? And it sounds like this is a long process, but it's not an execution. It takes just a minute to scan the body, check in, scan the thoughts, check in, and see, what do I need today to show up for me, so that I can, knowing that this is where I'm at, that I can move forward.
Yeah, I think what I love the most about that is that while you're doing the self check-in, you're also simultaneously thinking of, okay, now what can I do to support it? Whereas I think there are so many times we tend to just be in this like victim mindset, right? Like, oh, well, that's my circumstance and I'm just going to have to deal with it, versus, well, what can I do to support it? What can I do to nurture it? What can I do to take care of this part of my body or this part of my mind that's needing a little extra attention right now? I love that so much. Okay, so with your business, it's called Be Courageous, but I feel like there's this almost like not conflicting, but like counter, I can't think of the word right now, but being calm and then being courageous. I guess I'm just going to use the word conflicting for lack of a better word. Those almost like conflict in my mind because if you're being courageous, you're really like stepping out of your comfort zone, right? And that takes away a lot of calm for a lot of people. So what does that look like? How can you be calm and also be courageous? And what does courageous even mean to you?
Sure. So, I totally hear you with, it seems like they're two conflicting things, but there's a lot of synergy between courage and calm, actually, because courage, one is that you can go forth when you're feeling fearful, but you go forth anyway, right? And the fear, if we look, there's a great acronym, I forget who said it, and it's false evidence appearing real, FEAR, and that stands for fear. And when you go through that and you, again, that questioning of what's going on here, why am I fearful, what could happen, right, playing out the scenario, then you can create more calm by having lived into, right, even momentarily in your mind, of what are the things that I'm afraid of, or what is it that's showing up that would make me not want to move forward. And when you have that self-awareness generally always creates more calm, right? And the questioning with that self-awareness, right? So getting into inquiry, being curious, right, all helps with calm. And so with being courageous, moving forth and going through that comfort zone, you can still have conviction of like, I'm uncomfortable right now, but I'm going to go do it anyway, right? And trusting, hoping, whatever it is that back emotion is, right? It can be done in calm. It doesn't have to be that, again, you're activated, right? You can still feel nervous, and a healthy sense of nervousness and a little healthy stress is great, right? That means that it's something meaningful to you, right? Because again, the lion isn't out there licking its lips. It's not the same, even though the physiological response is the same. You're not actually in threat, right? You're not actually in a life and death situation with a lot of our business decisions, right? It might seem that way because, for financial reasons and for the implications of business decisions that have on our lives. But you don't know if you don't try, right? You don't know if you don't move forward and get past that fear and live into that courage, what could be on the other side. And so my invitation is to also practice both courage and calm. They're both muscles, right? So when you activate them in smaller environments and in places that aren't so heavy, right, that don't have so much weight against them, right, in places that are a little, I'm trying to find the word, that aren't as, I don't want to say significant, but almost like that, right? That you can try in these lower stakes environments, that calm, that courage, and then you build those muscles up. You build them both up, and next thing you know, you've got pretty strong muscles. You've got pretty strong calm inside of you and pretty strong courage.
So good. We were previously talking about like, what do you do when you're feeling that stress, right? How do you get back to calm? But do you have the same kind of rituals in place to be proactive about it, right? So you're not just in this reactive state, and maybe that you have like a big meeting one day and it might be a stressful day. Do you do the same things that morning just to prepare yourself and to prepare your body?
Oh, absolutely. So I love that you brought that up, because there is proactive calm and then there's reactive calm, like you just said. And the proactive calm are things that we do in the everyday that help kind of just create a baseline for us, right? So it's not like, and then when we know that a stressful moment is going to show up, that then we can either lean further into our calm rituals and routines or use the reactive calm measures like the box breathing and an additional check-in if it's necessary. Or one of my favorite things is also like, and no one can see it, right? I can do this under the table. I'm circling my inner palm very, so slowly. Or taking a minute, looking outside the window and saying like, this is temporary, this too shall pass, whatever it is. There's literally a bazillion. But that proactive calm, like you're talking about, there's two elements to the proactive calm. There's one, which is daily rituals and routines that, again, help kind of strengthen that calm muscle and keep that as a calmer baseline, right? That's the infrastructure that you're working with. And that could be starting your day with some of these rituals and routines, things that you do throughout the day, right? The meal planning at the beginning of the week, that's a proactive, calm experience. That is built in now to your weekly structure, your monthly structure, all of that. And then there's the proactive that's more in the moment, right? Or right before an individual activity versus just the baseline of life. So knowing that you have a really stressful event coming up, what you can do leading up to, knowing that that's maybe going to take out a lot of your energy. How do you replenish yourself afterwards and proactively like lessen your load ahead of time and saying no to more things to say yes to yourself, right? In the lead up to that moment, and then do something pleasurable and rewarding afterwards.
So good. So is that what your book is all about? Like if someone were to buy your book today, what can they expect? Or do you have kind of like a laundry list of all of these tools that they can utilize to get from chaos to calm?
Oh, absolutely. So it's built, the way that the book is built is in a way that you can go anywhere in the book and you'll get the goods, right? That it is straight in and it's laid out in a way that is for the busy, overwhelmed person. And so there is throughout the book, right? There are 5 main chapters that are based on the 5 pillars of calm, which are efficiency, habits, community, communication, and self-care. And within each of those chapters, it gives examples and tangible, tactical techniques and tools to use. And there are moments of pause throughout that's like, okay, you just learned about, energy efficiency. What are you going to do, right? Your turn. It's your turn now to take a pause and how are you going to implement this into your life before moving forward? Right? Let's really take that moment, not just keep reading, because then you have a bazillion things, right? You have hundreds of things. You're like, I want to do it all. And it's like, that's great. But it only works if you do one thing at a time. You implement one thing before you start the next. So there are these natural places of pause throughout the book, as well as recaps at the end of each chapter. Here are the key messages and takeaways, so that when you're finished with a chapter or section, you're like, oh, I remember now, and I have my pauses along the way. So it's really built to be a guide, a very tactical, tangible guide that's also like a friend, right? It's me talking to you in book form. It's us having a conversation together. And it's like my coaching in this format.
I love that you included those pauses because I think there's so much to be said about overconsumption, right? But really having that balance of consumption and then application and intentional application, I love that so much. So we're coming to a close here, but I do want to bring up one more thing before we get to where everyone can find you. I was scrolling through your websites right before this call, and there is this bold claim or vision that I want to dive into. And your vision is to create 1 billion moments of courage. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Yeah. So my husband and I together, the idea is that there every day, every moment, there is an opportunity to show up courageously, right? And that could be from what are we going to eat for dinner tonight, right? What are we going to order off the menu or get from the grocery store, or chunk it up to like, are we going to cook or are we going to eat out, right? There are courageous decisions that can be made even in that, as well as who am I going to hire? What is our vision statement for our business? What distributors am I going to use? And right there's all these things, from as macro as that to as micro as what pens do we want to have in our office space, right? That the courage is subjective. It is subjective to you as an individual on what is aligned with what you're trying to achieve, your values and your purpose. And when you can make those decisions at any point throughout any day.
I love that. I love that. Well, cheers to 1 billion, 1 billion and counting. So, Jenna, you have been amazing. Where can everyone find you? Where can they find your book? Where can they find your freebie? Is it a freebie?
Yeah, I've got a few downloadables on my website, little freebies. There's chapter excerpts, there's a meal planner, the one that I use, right, every week. There is a priority matrix and the 2 Minutes to Calm downloadable, as well as a number of others. So those are all on my website, jennahermans.com/downloads. And BCRGS, which is Be Courageous without any vowels.com, is our Be Courageous website, where you can learn more about what Be Courageous does and how we can bring courage into your organization as well, in transformation from where you currently are to where you want to be going.
And your book is on either of those websites?
Oh, my book is on Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble, anywhere that books are sold. You can find Chaos to Calm, and you can find direct links from jennahermans.com as well.
Love it. And of course, all of those links will be in the show notes. But Jenna, you have been amazing. You've been full of so many valuable information and insights and tidbits. So thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
Oh, thank you, Crystal. I appreciate having been here.
Another incredible interview with yet another inspiring woman in entrepreneurship. I hope you guys loved that episode just as much as I did. But before we leave off, if you yourself are also a woman entrepreneur, I would love for you to consider joining our Empowered by Women directory. We're looking for women-owned product and service-based businesses in the US to help us build the go-to place for our communities to find local women to shop with and connect with, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. All of the details can be found on www.empoweredbywomen.com/apply-directory. Of course, that's going to be linked in the show notes below, and you're also welcome to reach out to me anytime if you have any questions. But other than that, thank you again so much for joining us, and I will see you in the next episode.